Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Amy. I'm one of the cruise connoisseurs here at Panache Cruises. I'm the expedition specialist. I've been working in expedition cruising for the last 8 years or so, polar expeditions and tropical expeditions. And I'm joined this morning by Mark Walter, who is the head of sales for Hurtigruten UK, and he's going to be giving us an insight into the expedition voyages that Hurtigruten offer. Hurtigruten's been in business for 128 years, so it was started by the Norwegian government to improve communications along the Norwegian coast. So there's been lots of development in those 128 years, but I'll let Mark tell you all about those. Expedition cruises, I'm sure you're aware, they're a nature-based and knowledge-centered voyage, so taking clients to amazing parts of the world, really hard to reach places. So you can get your own David Attenborough experience when you're on board. And it isn't just a cruise, but I'm sure Mark will give you all the details as to what's involved on an expedition voyage. And for those of you that are new to our webinars, firstly, welcome. And secondly, a little bit about Panache Cruises. We were started last year by James Cole, who's a cruise industry veteran. And our specialisms are expedition, elite ocean, yacht style cruising and river cruising. And our philosophy is nothing is too much trouble. So you will deal with one cruise connoisseur from the beginning to the end of your booking. You don't have to dial 1 for reservations or 2 for accounts. We will look after you from the beginning to end, and we'll craft your holiday to your specific requirements as well. And you can book knowing as well that your money is 100% safe, because we run an ATOL approved trust account. So your money is safe. So I think now I will hand over to Mark, and if you do have any questions, please just put them in the chat box at the bottom and we'll answer those at the end of Mark's presentation. So Mark, over to you.
Amy, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay. I was having a few slight technical issues with my microphone a little earlier, but hopefully coming through to you loud and clear. Very good morning to you all, and from Hurtigruten, good morning. Yes, as Amy correctly said, we are a very specialist and unique company for all the right reasons. We have a long heritage, which we'll touch on in a second. But an expedition voyage or cruise is something that is growing and growing in popularity, because it is driven very much by the scene that you can see in front of it. It is very much about destination, exploration, for want of a better word, getting to parts of the world that are unable to be got to by the bigger ships, but really trying to take you to bucket list destinations and really give you an insight and an education about where you're going to and what you're going to see and do. But I just thought I'd start off by giving you a sense of what Hurtigruten is about, with a very short video that will just give you a bit of a taster of what Hurtigruten can offer you. Well, I'm sure, like many of you, I've massively missed travel, and seeing some of those images really do give you a sense of A, what we've missed, but B, what's ahead, which is very exciting about all the places that the world has to offer. Now, clearly, we've only got a short amount of time, so I won't be able to go into detail about everywhere, but I will certainly give you a good overview of what you can expect. But as Amy so rightly said, you know, we are a very well established and an old company. 1893, the gentleman you can see on the bottom right, Captain Richard With, was our founder, and he actually started the Hurtigruten, which is the express route sailing along the Norwegian coast. And if any of you, if any of you actually haven't done that express route itself, from Bergen to Kirkenes, stopping at 34 ports, right the way through up to the Russian border, it is the most incredible voyage, and really a bucket list kind of voyage and experience in itself, and something that is very much part and parcel of our day-to-day business. But we're not going to really talk and focus too much on that. We're going to talk about our expedition program and our expedition fleet of ships that travel to all different parts of the world outside of Norway. And with that heritage and with that 120 years experience, we do bring a huge amount of knowledge and expertise. When you're sailing in some really remote polar regions of the world, you do have to have people and an organisation that knows what they're talking about and can sail with absolute confidence. And of course, many of our captains, all of our captains are trained and highly experienced in sailing in the Arctic and Antarctic peninsulas. But an expedition is really beyond a cruise. Okay, there is a lot of similarities to the ship, and the ship is the place that you go from A to B to C. But please be aware that if you are a cruiser, or indeed you're a non-cruiser, an expedition cruise will give you something that is appealing to both of you. Many of the ships, all of our ships have indeed don't have big razzmatazz kind of West End show theatres. There's no formality on them. It's very much about getting to see these incredible parts of the world in absolute comfort, but being able to experience it by first hand, actually getting out and about. So an expedition is way beyond what we term as traditional cruising. As a company, we have a mission. We have a statement that says we want to offer sustainable nature experiences, and we want to become the world-leading exploration company. And we've set ourselves a goal of 5 years' time for that. And yes, many of our voyages will be, and holidays will be on sea, but we're also looking to expand into more land-based opportunities as well. So just because a destination is maybe landlocked, that doesn't mean that in the future Hurtigruten won't be able to experience places either. But it is very much up close and personal. Wildlife and local culture in depth. We have an education and an ability to learn when you are on the ships and go into these different places. And we're not talking about high academia here, but we're talking about engaging with experts on the ships that give you a real sense of knowledge and purpose about where you've been, what you've seen. And you really do come home having learned a huge amount more, rather than just a traditional holiday where you might just go completely to relax. This really is about destination driven to bucket list destinations. And the thing also you'll find on board, you're amongst like-minded people. These are people that are driven by wanting to go to these amazing destinations around the world and get into the zodiacs, as you can see there on the screen, and go off and explore. And so engaging and talking with your fellow international travelers is a very, very important part of the Hurtigruten experience. Our fleet is actually larger. Our expedition fleet is actually larger than many people think. Currently, we have 8 ships within the expedition fleet. All of them are what you would term as relatively small ships in comparison to the huge mega liners of today in the cruise industry. None of them go above about 550 passengers. All of the ships are predominantly based in the Northern Hemisphere during the summer months. and then 3 of them head down to Antarctica during the winter months as well. So we have 7 ships that we actually own. The little ship that you can see the bottom right there is one that we charter each summer called Nordstjernen, and she is based out of Longyearbyen up in Svalbard, and she does some phenomenal West Coast Svalbard expedition voyages. But we don't actually own her. We actually charter her each summer to be able to get to some of the most remotest parts of Svalbard and Spitsbergen. So what is included in an expedition voyage? The one thing I would say is people look at an expedition voyage and think, blimey, that's expensive. But you really have to look beneath the skin and say, okay, what do I get included in the price? And within a Hurtigruten voyage, you get a whole range of programs and activities, the landings, which are designed there really to immerse you in the different destinations so you can get off and actually go and experience these incredible places. On board, you have a team of experts and highly trained crew, which you can access and talk to and learn from. You get breakfast, lunch and dinner daily, including wine and beer, which is of a house wine and beer, but extremely good selection. Tea, coffee, Wi-Fi. You also come back with a complimentary expedition jacket and a water bottle as well. And if you need to, there are loans of boots and trekking poles, certainly in places like Antarctica, where you have to have approved footwear to actually disembark the ships. So we will include those where they are required as well. And of course, all the facilities that you would get on board the ship, the gym, the shops, the lounges, etc. as well. So don't always just look at the price and think, well, I mean, that's a lot. There's actually a lot that's actually included, and it does offer phenomenal value for money. One thing that we have set ourselves out as a particular criteria, and something that we are putting ourselves under huge pressure for, is to actually establish ourselves as the world's greenest cruise company. And we started this going back to 2018, where we launched the world's first hybrid expedition ship, MS Rold Amundsen. So the ship is able to sail, and her sister ship, Fridtjof Nansen, is able to sail on battery power, which is, as you can imagine, incredibly important when you're sailing to places like the Northwest Passage and the high Arctic or Antarctica, to do everything we possibly can to ensure our beautiful planet is protected. Also, to celebrate our 125th anniversary, instead of having a huge party, we decided that it'd be a great idea if the entire fleet became single-use plastic free. So we now have all of our fleet of ships have no single-use plastic on board. We're also engaging with a lot of our suppliers to ensure that when they send whatever goods they might have or supplies on board the ship, that they are sending it in environmentally friendly packaging and recyclable packaging as well. We're trying our best to ensure that we support the heavy fuel oil ban in the Arctic. There's big pressure to ensure that heavy fuel oil is reduced, and of course that would involve ensuring that we sail up there with the most environmentally friendly possible fuel. And of course we do a huge amount with local communities. We have onboard citizen science programs where we help people like Orca, Happy Whale Project and the RSPB facilitate their own charities and their own needs. And as individual guests, you do have the opportunity to participate as well. We can get out and we do beach cleans. There's a green stay program on board the ship where if you don't want to have your cabin or your suite cleaned that particular day, because you don't always need the cabins cleaned, and reducing the amount of detergents and power, if you decide to opt to have a green stay night, then we will make a contribution to the Hurtigruten Foundation, which in turn then provides support and financial backing to a number of worldwide environmental projects. So we have very much a footprint we are very, very proud of, and it is an instigating part of what we are as a company, and we really do embrace it and set the bar very, very high for other cruise and passenger shipping companies to follow. So, as I say, you really do have to get up close and personal to the action. And an integral part of an expedition voyage is the onboard expedition team. On our expedition ships, we have anything from 12 to 20 expedition team members, from an expedition team leader and his assistants to experts that are invited on for either a season or a number of cruises. And they will be absolute experts in things like history, marine biology, ornithology, the environment, of course, as well. We talk about the environment. We do that through a number of onboard lectures, on-deck demonstrations. You have the opportunity to have dinner if you wish to as well with some of the experts. But a lot of it, they base themselves, as you can see from the bottom right there, from the Science Centre. And this is the Science Centre that gives you the ability to look at the environment, see where we've been, actually understand what the scientists are looking at. And they do a very much of a hands-on opportunity to experience that. There's a photography program on board as well. We have experts that have been trained by Canon. And as you can see, we don't just talk about it, we want you to go and experience it as well. So we have on board our explorer boats where you access from the tenders. It's a very gentle step into the boat. So if any of you, or if your passengers that you're with have a little bit wobbly on their feet, then it's a very easy way to get into the Zodiacs. And we actually go off and we do exploring through landings and ice cruising as well. There's hikes, there's walks, kayaking, paddleboarding on board. The citizen science program, which I mentioned before, is about very much understanding and being involved and taking an active part of whale watching or bird watching. And we even have an underwater drone as well. So you can sit within the lecture theatres or within your cabin, and the crew will deploy the drone in Antarctica or wherever we might be and beam back pictures of the world beneath the water and explain what we're seeing in the wildlife. So it really is a phenomenal way to get to experience these phenomenal destinations. Now, as I briefly mentioned, back in 2018, we launched MS Rold Amundsen. And then in 2019, and just going to 2020, we also launched MS Fridtjof Nansen. Both of those ships are named after incredibly well-known explorers of the early 20th century. The ships are battery-powered, so they are the world's first hybrid ships, so we can reduce CO2 emissions by up to 20%. They have been designed as a premium experience as well. So we don't set ourselves as absolute high luxury, but I can guarantee, and you'll see some of the pictures in a minute, the ships are incredibly comfortable. They've been designed with a Scandinavian feel and look, very sort of minimalistic, but lots of accents about nature and stone and the different colorings of nature. They take no more than 550 guests. When we go to Antarctica, we have a maximum of 500 guests. If we go over 500 guests, you can't actually land anybody there. So by law, so we have a maximum. But as you can see, these aren't huge ships, but they have everything on board that you would expect to make it comfortable. There are no inside cabins. All the cabins are outside and suites. 50% of them also have a private balcony. So it makes life extremely comfortable when you want to see where you're going to next. They have the Science Centre on board as well, as I've mentioned. There's an infinity pool, a sauna, a gym, and a spa. There's even a phenomenal 7-deck atrium plasma screen, which is great, and also the landing bay and the public areas and open decks, as you can see on the pictures as well. So these ships really are setting the bar very high, not only for ourselves but also for the other expedition companies in the world. There is plans in the future also to add additional ships to these fleet in this class. COVID hasn't stopped us. It's just put a little bit of a pause on our expedition program, but we are very much ploughing ahead as planned pre-COVID to expand our ships. On board, the food is an integral part of the voyage, as every cruise is. And we have 3 restaurants on board. The top 2 pictures are the main restaurant, and that's called Auna. And then the bottom left is the sort of more of a casual sort of eatery that has lots of dietary requirements and vegetarian options called Friedheim. And then bottom right, we have our a la carte restaurant called Lindström. Just to let you know, breakfast and lunches are buffet, and then dinner generally tends to be a 3 to 4 course sit-down meal, if you wish. And also it gives you the option to have some casual dining in Friedheim as well. But the food on board the ships is in exceptionally good quality, very, very much embracing the local, wherever we are within the world, within the local menu, and it's a phenomenal experience. If you are in the suites, your restaurant is the bottom right one there, that's called Lindström. If you're not in the suite, you still can go and eat in Lindström, the a la carte restaurant, but there is a supplement to pay. It's usually about £25–30 per person. If you fancy a bit of a change of scene as a bit of a treat once or twice during the voyage. The cabins, this is a polar outside cabin and is the lead grade. So this is the grade that we lead. As I said, there aren't any inside cabins. They've been beautifully appointed. A lot of, as you can see there, they've got a very Scandinavian feel to them. When I stayed on board Fridtjof Nansen, I have to say I had probably the best sleep I've ever had at sea. The beds are incredibly comfortable, immaculately clean, lovely duvets, and very, very comfortable. As you can imagine, every cabin has got private facilities, flat screen TV, and say really good, nice open views of the places you go to, as well as a small seating area. So this is the lead grade cabin. Next up, you have an Arctic Superior with a balcony. There are some Arctic Superiors that don't have a balcony, but they are actually very big cabins. They just have a much bigger space. But as I say, 50% of the cabins have balcony. They tend to be on the middle and upper decks. Very similarly appointed, as you can see, to the polar outside. And again, very similar, but what you would expect from a standard outside cabin as well. For the first time ever, because we were able to build these ships from anew effectively, we've been able to add a larger range of suites. So this is a suite with a balcony. As I said earlier, if you are staying in the suites, you can go and eat in Lindström. In here as well, obviously, not only do you get your balcony, you get a walk-in closet, a much bigger bathroom. You get even an espresso maker, complimentary pair of binoculars, private check-in. There's a complimentary glass of champagne for you when you get on board the ship as well. So very modern, very minimalistic, but very, very comfortable. And if you really wanted to, I don't know, maybe have a little bit more space, even more, then we have a next grade of cabins up, which is this is the top grade of suites, and this is called an Expedition Corner Suite, an XL Expedition Corner Suite. As you can see, a huge amount of space, beautiful views. There is a balcony in this one; it's hidden around the corner, but again, lots to comfort and very, very comfortable. And one thing that we constantly get feedback on is the amount of people that say they just didn't realise that Hurtigruten would be able to offer this level of accommodation. And it's something that we're very, very proud of, and I say, trying to replicate throughout the fleet. But all in all, hopefully you can appreciate why we're proud of these two ships in particular. They are really setting the bar, not only for ourselves, but also for the rest of the industry to come. Now, I realise that we're short of time, so obviously I won't be able to go into complete detail about it everywhere we go. But as you can see, as there's a general view there, that we don't head to the Mediterranean, we're not the Caribbean, although we sailed through it at one point. These very much bucket list destinations is our bread and butter. So Antarctica and Alaska in the North America, Greenland, Iceland, Svalbard is better known as Spitsbergen, if you're unaware. We do a phenomenal voyage through the Northwest Passage, which you really do have to know what you're talking about to go through there. And we also have Central and South America, where we're actually going to be expanding our series of programs there in the coming years. And the one thing that we have started to do, though, and this is really predominantly driven by COVID, was we saw an uptick in a demand for sailings from the British Isles. So in 2021, the ship that you can see in the middle there, MS Maud, will be doing expedition sailings from Dover. She's due to hopefully join us in July. Obviously, her first 3 or 4 months have been cancelled due to COVID, sadly. But we're anticipating that hopefully by July, August, Maud will be sailing from Dover. She'll be offering British Isles voyages, also sailings up to the North Cape, up along the Norwegian coast, and also some really interesting Scandinavian voyages through Germany, Denmark, Sweden, and also southern Norway as well. Fridtjof Nansen was one of the ships I was talking about. She's one of our new hybrid premium ships. She is actually sailing a couple of times from Liverpool and Portsmouth in 2022. The Liverpool sailing in particular is proving very popular, where she'll be sailing in May all the way up to Iceland. And MS Spitsbergen is nearly sold out for 22, ironically. There is a little bit of space, but she's going to do some beautiful voyages around the Outer Hebrides. MS Spitsbergen actually is probably one of my favourite ships. She's only about 200 passengers, but she's beautifully appointed, very, very comfortable, good-sized cabins, and the crew on board that ship are exceptional. So between this year and the next 2 to 3 years, we definitely have ships sailing from the UK. If you don't fancy heading too far afield and you wanted to make sure that you'd like to do an expedition voyage from the UK, then we have that. For those of you that are a little more adventurous and would like to possibly head further afield, Antarctica is an absolute signature of ours. We have 3 ships sailing in Antarctica during our winter, their summer. And I mean the penguins and the wildlife's been in their summer because there's not many humans down there to enjoy the summer. But we have Antarctica season where the ships are in expedition mode. And when I say expedition mode, that means that there isn't a set itinerary. That it's very much deemed by the captain and the expedition crew every day. They will go where we have access to the best wildlife, the best weather. So it's very much of a fluid itinerary when we are in expedition mode. So you really are going out and you don't know where you're going to go to the next day, but you have to be under the guidance, if you like, of the expedition crew and the captain to where you go. But they are absolutely determined to give you the best opportunities to see the most wildlife and experience the destination as possible and get ashore in the small boats, to do the whale watching, to go to the lectures, to hear the history of the continent, and also to engage in all the citizen science that I've been talking about as well. By far our most popular itinerary is the one on Rold Amundsen. She bases herself from Punta Arenas in southern Chile. It's an 18-day Antarctica, Chilean fields and the Falklands. I think the combination of the Falklands and the Chilean fields with Antarctica makes it a really special voyage, and something that we sell particularly well in the UK. It's 18 days, so it's enough time to really get a sense of where you're going. And it also includes an overnight hotel and the domestic flight from Santiago down to Punta Arenas. To give you an idea, that outside cabin that I was showing you, including the flights from London at the moment, is just shy of £7,300. So what we class as, I think, what offers incredibly good value for money. I won't go through every itinerary and every destination, but I just wanted to give you a sense of the kind of voyages you could do and the ones that sell particularly well and are very appealing to the UK and to British guests. And Svalbard is one of those places that people really have to get the globe out and figure out whereabouts it is. Well, if you go up the if you got the coast of Norway and you go at 10 o'clock sort of up towards the Arctic, the North Pole, Svalbard is sitting on the 80-degree north latitude bearing. We have a number of ships that sail there during the summer months. During the winter, of course, there's too much ice and it becomes restricted. So we sail up there during the summer. But of course, that improves the chances of seeing the polar bear. And this is absolutely the home of polar bear. There are more polar bear up there than human. your chances of seeing them from the ship in the different national parks and fields is extremely high. And of course, it's summer solstice as well. If you sail up there May, June, July, you're getting 24 hours of daylight. So your ability to experience this beautiful archipelago of islands, fingers crossed you'll see polar bear, but also the additional opportunity to get ashore and to see all the other wildlife and the heritage that Svalbard has is quite impressive. We also go to Alaska as well. Alaska, as we know, is a well-trodden route for many cruise companies, but most traditional cruise lines tend to, in general, do one-week voyages. With us being a little bit different, we offer a 14-day open jaw voyage, either north or southbound, between Vancouver and Seward, and then you fly to and from Anchorage. There are some of the highlights that you would normally expect, things like Haynes and Misty Field, etc., and Sitka, but we've also tried to embellish our itinerary up there by going to a lot of places that have got quite a lot of either Russian and or Norwegian history as well. So we can go to a lot of the smaller ports because our ships are smaller. We can engage in the Zodiacs and get them out and really give you a different kind of experience to so many of the big ships can. So we are sailing there in 2022. 2021, as you can appreciate, has been affected by COVID, sadly, but we are seeing some incredibly high demand for Alaska and British Columbia in 2022 already. And then I just thought I would dangle this one in front of you because this is an absolutely mammoth and beautiful voyage. 2022 sailing actually through the Northwest Passage is pretty much already full. So we've actually put on sale our voyage going in August 2023. Again, it's on MS Rold Amundsen. It's a 26-day Northwest Passage voyage from Nome in Alaska, all the way through, as you can see there, via Greenland to Halifax, Nova Scotia. We've already sold, I think it's probably about 40% of the ship for this particular voyage, because it's such a magnificent voyage that we think we put it on sale already. And to give you an idea of cost, at the moment we're leading in a flight inclusive cabin, outside cabin from £17,650. Now, I appreciate it is a lot of money, but it actually does offer, we think, incredible value for money, getting to a part of the world that very, very few ships and other companies can offer. And I thought I'd just dangle that one in case any of you wanted to plan well ahead for the next couple of years and have something very, very special to look forward to. And because that particular voyage has sold so well, we yesterday launched or announced there are a couple of what we've termed as pole-to-pole voyages. And this is where we've basically put 2 or 3 voyages together to make one grand mammoth voyage. And this is an example of MS Fram, which is our original and beautiful expedition ship, where she's sailing from Cambridge Bay, high up in high Canada, Arctic Canada, you can see there, all the way through the Arctic, the Northwest Passage to Greenland, down the east coast of the States, through the Panama Canal, a beautiful voyage down through South America to Antarctica, and then before you disembark the ship in Punta Arenas before flying back to Santiago. So she's a 66-day voyage. So we're finding these longer voyages have really picked up since people haven't been able to travel for the past 12 plus months. People's sense of wanderlust really has been heightened, and therefore we're finding that these really remote long voyages are appealing to a lot of people if you have the time or indeed the expenditure to do so. There's a few there that I thought you might just like to whet the appetite, see the kind of destinations and places we go to. So I think I'm just about out of time. I'll probably run over a little bit for which I apologise, but I just wanted to thank you for tuning in. I also wanted to thank James, Amy, Claire and the team at Panache Cruises. We fully recommend and endorse them as a business partner. They are, as Amy said to start with, an integral part of your journey to book your voyage. Their knowledge is second to none, and I would completely endorse them as a reliable and a great way to book your Hurtigruten Expedition voyage. And as a little bit of a thank you for joining us today, if any of you make a booking between today and the 11th of June, and this could be on any Hurtigruten voyage, we will, with our compliments, put 50 euros per person on board spend for you to have a glass of wine on our behalf, or maybe take a hike or something with our compliments. And on that point, I think I'll hand it back to Amy, who will wrap things up.
Thanks ever so much, Mark, and really appreciate the in-depth overview you've given of us for Hurtigruten. And it's not lost that you travelled down to Antarctica on a Norwegian cruise ship. I'm sure Captain Scott would turn in his grave knowing that Rold Amundsen beat him by 34 days all those years ago in 1911. Mark, we've had a few questions through, if I could just put those to you. So firstly, what levels of fitness do guests need to have when they're on board one of your expedition voyages?
They need to, if you go to, I think it's Antarctica or the Northwest Passage, you do need to have a medical form from your doctor. And that tends to be obviously when you're certainly more from a heart and sort of a general heart condition, because obviously when you're in Antarctica or some of these remote places, we really need to do everything we can to ensure that your health is okay. But really from an ability perspective, I was talking to a colleague of mine that actually went to Antarctica, I think it was 2 years ago, and there was an 89-year-old couple that were on board celebrating their wedding anniversary, and they did it having got into the Zodiac, and they did it actually at, I can't remember the landing point, but it was in Antarctica, and they were completely fit of mind. They were a little bit wobbly on their feet, but they were very, very well looked after by the ship, and they were fit as fiddle. They just, I think it's just general fitness levels is probably the best way you can say it. But surprisingly, you will find that there is quite a lot of people on there that, actual fact, are more than fit, but probably just need a little bit of assistance when they're getting around.
Okay, great. And you mentioned about the Northern Lights, but you'll only see those in the winter time. So in the summer, when you were talking about the midnight sun and the 24 hours of daylight, is there, are you out on the decks in the middle of the night sort of doing activities, or
Yes.
is it still, you are, okay.
No, absolutely. I mean, you have the ability to sleep out on deck if you wish. They have an ability where they bring out sort of, they're like deck chairs, but they're lie down jet chairs, and they give you sleeping bags, and you can sit and take a picture of midnight whilst it's in 24-hour daylight. So obviously, I mean, that is the highlight of it really, but it just gives you from an opportunity of being able to see the places you go to. That ability that you're getting so much daylight in these incredible parts of the world is something that we try and embrace as best as we can. But yeah, I mean, you go from two extremes. You go from complete darkness in the winter to complete lightness, and that in itself is almost two experiences and two voyages, I would say.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Mark. So I think it just leaves me to say, if you're looking for an expedition voyage, an authentic travel, you were mentioning about citizen science as well. I think engaging guests on board really adds to the education experience. Like you said, it's not a fly and flop holiday at all. It's something that will live with you forever, and those memories will be really, really precious as well once you've returned and you're looking through all your photographs. So also, as Mark mentioned, there's cruises from the UK in 22 and 23. So if that's something that is of interest, please do get in touch with us, because we'd be delighted to help you with these voyages, or perhaps even the pole-to-pole trip that looks absolutely phenomenal. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you so much, and thank you, Mark. Bye-bye.
Take care.